Good evening. This is CTV News. I'm Patricia Vallone. Thank you for joining us tonight. Well, police are investigating a sexual assault that took place Monday night not far from the College Park metro station. The incident happened about 8:30 as the victim was walking near College and Columbia Avenues. Detectives say the woman was approached from behind, knocked to the ground, and sexually assaulted. Neighbors tell CTV News that police were searching for the suspect for hours.
We got home from D.C. from the metro right out down the road about 10:15. I got home. This whole street was blocked off. There was caution tape on both sides, ambulance, about 4 or 5 cop cars. And there was also a big light shining on this area by the park. We also got emails from UMD telling us to stay away from this area and the park back there.
Have you had other issues here?
Yeah, there have been a few issues. Last year, I lived right down the street. We had a guy break into our house sitting in our living room. We also had a guy run out of our bushes probably 2 or 3 weeks ago when cops are around here looking for someone too, and they didn't catch that guy.
If you have any information on the incident, you're asked to call the Crime Solvers tip line at 1-866-411-TIPS. A car strikes and kills a man in Glendale this morning. Officials have released few details, but say an SUV struck the man while he was crossing Annapolis Road at Atwell Avenue at about 6 a.m. The driver remained on the scene. Anyone with information about that incident is asked to contact authorities. Traffic enforcement is up on one of the area's deadliest highways. Authorities say a combination of roving speed cameras and stepped-up police activity on Indian Head Highway have produced nearly 21,000 citations this year. The 3 roving cameras that went up in June netted more than 3,000 violations. Police say speeding remains the #1 issue on the road, along with distracted driving and driving under the influence. There have been 66 fatalities on Route 210 since 2007. Yesterday, we told you about a Glenarden family who lost a loved one in the Navy Yard shooting 6 years ago yesterday. Tonight, we visit the family again as they continue to fight for gun control. Byron Scott has our story.
Since the 2013 mass shooting at the Navy Yard in the District of Columbia, there have been scores of mass shootings across the country.
It's painful.
For Dr. Wendy Edmonds, each incident is a painful reminder of the day her sister, 53-year-old Sylvia Frazier, was killed at the Navy Yard.
I cry because I know the pain of the sudden shock of your loved one never coming home again. Mm-hmm. I understand that pain, and I also understand the pain of trying to get someone to hear you, to understand that we need to make some changes.
For Dr. Edmonds and her brother James Frazier, getting beyond September 16, 2013 has meant getting involved.
It took everything out of me to understand that my sister Sylvia and her 11 co-workers, they didn't stand a chance.
On August 13, Edmonds spoke at a news conference on Capitol Hill.
The time for the Senate and the House and the White House to act.
House Democrats, led by Marilyn Steny Hoyer, were calling on their colleagues in the Senate to pass House Resolution 8, which expands background checks.
And so when we talk about who's going to get the guns, we need to make sure that the background check is thorough.
We continue to say in America we're the greatest country in the world, and I think that is suspect at this time that we are, because we're allowing people to be killed in mass murders. They're happening in our schools, they're happening at events where people are having fun, they're happening in the workplace.
While many attribute the mass shootings to mental illness, Frazier says the problem goes much deeper. He blames in part what he calls a misinterpretation of the Second Amendment.
So we've interpreted in modern times that everybody has a right to have a gun. And one of the things that has fueled a lot of that, from my point of view, is that it's been fueled because people believe they have to fight the government, that one day they're going to have to take up arms to fight the government, which I think is pretty asinine, but that's how a lot of people think. And I think that's because people have a belief that they're being left out, the government's not working for them, so they feel that the government is eventually going to take over.
The loss of my sister is an everyday pain. Not having Sylvia around has changed our life, because I still, 6 years later, sometimes think to pick up the phone and say, oh, Sylvia will know. 6 years later.
And so they fight and say they will continue to do so. Byron Scott, CTV News.